Have you ever caught yourself reacting to a situation? I mean, overreacting to a situation, just losing it, feeling out of control. Well, I'll tell you one thing, you're certainly not alone because there are so many people who feel like they can't regulate their emotions. And here's why. When individuals have struggled with significant trauma or psychic trauma growing up, and you have all of this buried in the unconscious, it wants to come out. The reason why it wants to come out from the unconscious is because the mind wants you to process. It has a goal for the conscious mind to process the pain. So then this way, it doesn't have to live with the suffering. But the conscious mind just feels overwhelmed and can't always process what is emotionally overwhelming. So then it becomes stuck, it becomes buried in the unconscious. It is buried under layers of defense mechanisms. So one layer could be repression. Okay, think about repression as negating something that has happened. So it didn't happen. You're not acknowledging it because it has absolutely nothing to do with you. So that's repression, which is different from denial. Denial is acknowledging that there was an issue, but you're not going to actually acknowledge that issue. So you're going to sweep that under the rug. So repression is completely dismissing what has happened to you, and denial is noticing that something has happened, but I'm sweeping it under the rug, I'm not dealing with it, I want to avoid it. Another defense mechanism is projection. So this is often seen with individuals who struggle with anxiety. So projection is you're unconsciously projecting, right? Like a movie, you're projecting onto the movie screen what you're thinking, what you're feeling onto other people. So for instance, if you're the one who's feeling angry, but a part of your psyche is not actually connecting with that emotion. So that can be actually split off and projected onto somebody else. So then you begin to think, wow, this person is upset, this person is really angry, this person is dismissive, when actually those feelings are coming from you. Another defense mechanism, and this is more of a secondary defense mechanism, which is a more sophisticated defense as we start to get a little bit older, we start to develop more specialized, let's call it, defense mechanisms. So we can rationalize and we can intellectualize. So rationalize is like justifying what has happened. Okay, so I understand that my mom was very abusive growing up, but she probably had a lot that was going on. Mom suffered from a trauma herself, so it's understandable that she's going to behave that way. That's a form of rationalization. However, another part is intellectualization. So using like philosophy, right? So using, Plato's forms in order to talk about why you're able to or not able to achieve perfection. And that's a way, again, of avoiding one's struggles in association with perfection, but instead, one is talking about Plato's forms and how this has anything to do with perfection and understanding what perfection is for this particular individual, or understanding what perfection is in general. So you have intellectualization, who you're going to use, academic information, so on and so forth, to avoid. Rationalization is more justification in order, again, to avoid. Defense mechanisms are built so we can avoid our feelings. Coping strategies. If we just use coping strategies and we've surpassed the point of stabilization, then coping strategies itself can be a defense, because that will be a defense against actually feeling those feelings. If you're overwhelmed, you can't regulate your emotions, then coping strategies can help with maintaining more of that baseline or coming back again to a sense of balance. But if you are already in a state of balance, you're more responsive than you are reactive, then what's going to be helpful is to essentially put those coping strategies or toolbox aside in order to dive deeper into the pain. And if you don't, then that can be a defense. So part of therapy will be to break through these defenses in order to get at the trauma and to bring it to the surface, to process it, so then this way you don't have to be controlled by unconscious factors that are affecting the way in which you think, feel, and behave.